Welcome back to Ultra Uncovered. I'm Russell Ditzworth, joined as always by co-host Corinne Chalvoy, and today we've got two special guests who have just completed the inaugural Mammoth 200. We are joined by Kevin Goldberg and Melanie White. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and you two are also married. So you're a
We are.
married couple who both completed this race together. I think that's one of my first questions. I mean, we want to start with, we want to cover a few different topics, kind of what that experience was from the runner perspective, maybe a few thoughts or discussion points around the first year of the live stream. And I was able to commentate about 28 hours of the race. And then, Russ was also tuned in a lot, especially on Friday. So from a viewer standpoint, some thoughts. So we kind of want to just touch on all those points. I think, first question for you both, Kevin and Melanie, is have you run a race together before? And then going into Mammoth, did you guys intend to run together for any or all portion of the race, or what was the thought? We're both in the same race together, but how did you approach that?
Yeah, I think we've definitely run races before, but they've been much shorter. I'm trying to think. We ran a 50 miler together, like back in 2016 or so, a long time ago. And we've been like, I think we've done some like the same races before, but certainly never a 100 or 200 miler. So this was definitely a new thing. We usually are each other's crew captains. So it was a new thing to be doing such a big thing, together, but separately. I think the decision to run together versus separately, I wavered on a lot going into this race. Like, I wonder, be curious to see what Melanie actually thought of that. Like, I think she knew all along that I probably was going to go separate, but I did flirt a lot with the idea of running together. I think especially with like just self-doubt and anxiety about the race, I was like, oh, it'd be really fun if we just stuck together and like, cause like she's like a safe place for me, a comfort space. Right. So toyed with the idea a lot, but ultimately if I really take a look in and like know who I am, I'm always going to try to go as fast as I can personally go. And that's what I ended up leaving her in the dust.
Uh, to build off of that, thanks, Kevin. I, I knew we never really intended to like run it together, and I didn't want us to because I knew that if Kevin were going to run it with me, he would be missing out on an opportunity to accomplish a goal or something big. And I think I was a little bit worried that he might use me as like a fallback in case things weren't going well. Like, I think I even said to one of our crew at one point, I was like, I really hope I don't run into him. And because I could see if things aren't going well, how easy would it be to be like, you know what, I'm just going to hang out here until Melanie gets here and then we'll do this together and all of that. But I knew he had really big goals he was going after, and I wanted him to do that. So I really did not want us to run together. And also, if like we had ended up together, I was not going to wait for him. So I didn't expect that from him for him to fall back with me. And I think, yeah, I don't know that Kevin and I are not quite a couple that particularly like enjoy spending that much time running together. Like we spend pretty much every waking hour of our lives together. We both work full time from home, and we enjoy hanging out together in our spare time. So our running is really our opportunity to like be separate and do something on our own and have our own goals. So I think we really value that. It's nice that we have the same hobby, so we can that's fun for us to talk about, but we also have very individual goals out of this, and I think it's important for our relationship that we go after those and encourage each other to do that. So yeah, I don't think I ever really wanted to run this race with him, but I was happy that he went after it and he got a good time.
Well, and let's not get confused. One of you finished in the top five. So, Melanie, a top performer on the women's side, really coming up into your own as well. So that's fantastic. I want to know, and I don't know if we mentioned it was your anniversary it was Saturday. So happy anniversary. And I'm curious about like how much communication there was between you during the race.
Yes, it was our 11-year wedding anniversary. And yeah, we were excited to be doing something big together but separate. We talked to each other a few times throughout the race. As you guys know, Kevin loves to be in constant communication with somebody during the race. It doesn't even really matter who. Uh, but we checked in a few times. We talked to each other. He had just passed Convict Lake, and I was approaching Convict Lake. I think that was the first time we spoke. I found that section going into Convict Lake a little boring, so I called him and I was like, "Can you entertain me? This section along the highway is like taking forever." So that was nice. And then, yeah, at midnight on Saturday or Friday, going into Saturday, I didn't call him, and I told my pacers, I was like, I could have called him. I had it all queued up, but I was waiting to see how long it would take him to call me. And he did. He called me like 10 minutes after midnight, which was nice, and it was lovely to check in with him. But otherwise, yeah. What else? How else? Oh yeah, we kind of paced each other for about 40 minutes on the morning two. Was that Kevin that I
Yeah,
called you?
that was a 90-minute
Yeah.
call.
90
Nice.
minutes. Okay. We weren't really talking, but yeah, it was another section that I didn't have a pacer. He did. Sorry to his pacer who ended up not getting to talk to him because I was talking to him. But yeah, we were just on the phone with each other and yeah, gibberish and random thoughts to each other for a while. And then I think that might have been like the last time we really communicated for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I remember I tend to get as engaged and connected as I am during these things. At some point, I usually like fall off and I'm no longer in the live stream. I'm no longer texting and calling people. And for me, that happens somewhere around the probably somewhere around the 195 mark, where I pretty much kept my phone away and like just went grinded to the finish. And then I texted Melanie after the race because my plan was to shower, sleep, and then go catch her on the course, but she was too fast. So I was like, hey, I'm just gonna see you at the finish because I don't have enough time to like take care of myself and also get back out onto the course. By that point, you'll be like pretty close to finishing. So texted her. I think you just like liked that message, and then I passed out, and you kept on going.
Yeah. I made a joke to my crew when Kevin finished because they like saw him at the finish line and then they like were on the phone and like I was coming up on an aid station very quickly. So they like saw him finish and then had to like dash out to meet me and they were rushing and I think I made a comment. I was like, doesn't Kevin want to come and pace me like the rest of the way? And they legitimately thought I was being serious. I guess in like the state that I was in, they were like, they thought I was being serious and didn't want to break it to me that like that was a bad idea. But I was only kidding. I knew he was going to sleep. So yeah, it was a nice relief to know that he was done and that I just needed to then get myself to the finish line and finish that thing out.
Well, you talked about how, normally when you do races, you are each other's main crew. So talk about, it sounded like maybe you had the same crew crewing for both of you. Can you tell us a little bit about your crewing situation?
Professional crew service. So I think when Melon,
I want to hear about this. I thought maybe that was you guys, but I want to hear about this. Yes.
Decided to do this thing pretty much solo. Like we were just going to go out there and like each do our own thing, drop bags, rely on the race. And then Chaos Crewing approached us about like, hey, what if we make like a big episode, like a podcast episode and document the whole thing? Like we'll come out and crew you guys. They're a paid for service and worth every penny, but thankfully we got it. Like we're working together to kind of create this content around it. So they offered to do it for free. So we had Chaos Crewing split the crew with us. And I mean, from my perspective, like there was always someone that felt fully dedicated to me. I think Melanie felt the same. They did a really great job. And then we picked up some friends who kind of like helped out and like really became like full-time parts of our crew that we just like met out there. They were just there to like spectate and enjoy the race. And they sort of stuck around. The Chisholm family, Jenny Chisholm and Brody Chisholm, who are amazing athletes in and of themselves. It was awesome to have their support. And then our friends Jerry and Molly, who were supposed to crew one of our other friends who DNS'd, who decided not to run the race on Thursday. So his crew was already out there. So we ended up with a crew of like 7.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And so then the Chaos Crewing just kind of integrated the people that you brought into kind of divvying up responsibilities. Like kind of how did that work? And did you guys feel pretty like hands off with it?
It all just, they took care of the logistics of everything. Like we just said, hey, here's how we operate, here's what we want, here's what we need. And like at every aid station, I felt fully supported. Like I had everything I needed. And like the only thing I missed once in a while, like, of course, having Melanie out there, like, not that Melanie doesn't coddle me at all, even if it's what I want, but like I was like, oh, who's like, if I have something go wrong, like who's going to take care of me? Like I felt like there was not that like, not that like anyone was going to take care of me anyway. They were just going to say, hey, get out of here, you got to go. But like
That's
it,
a good thing in some race
yeah,
settings that you
yeah,
don't have who's yeah, there's no option to be taken care of, right?
yeah. It felt like I don't even, I don't like the safety net actually isn't there to begin with, but it feels like maybe I have the illusion that it's there, and that illusion was gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. That's we'll put them in the show notes for sure. It's a really interesting, cool concept, and especially like for things like multi-day, where man, even especially if you do like multiples of them, like you do these all the time, Kevin. It's like that's so much work to get ready and prep a crew and plan out and do all of that. It sounds very much worth it to almost outsource that. And so it's great you had and what a testament to them that you guys both did amazing, both had really good races to show that it worked. It worked for you guys. Okay, I have a question about specifically about the sleep stuff, because I want to know how both of you did. And I want to know, Kevin, if you planned from the onset to try not to sleep, or what your strategy was going in. Because for anyone who doesn't know, we got a chat in the live stream. I don't know, it was probably like 150, 180 miles into this race that you were like, you probably know better than I do, but it was like, should I go on no sleep, guys? Should I try to do this thing with no sleep? And so it seemed like a very ad hoc, like in the moment kind of thing you were working through or deciding. So let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, what were the sleep? Did you have sleep strategies going into the race? Each of you, start there.
Yeah, so Melanie's a really good sleeper, and she can tell you her strategy. But for me, this was my 12th one of these, and I feel like I really am terrible at sleep. I can't fall asleep. I just like struggle to actually fall asleep, and like I waste so much time in like the prep to sleep, and it's just like it's been like my Achilles heel in these races. The choice to not sleep was a decision from the start, like this big experiment of like, can I, okay, I'm shooting for 60 hours or less, can I stay awake for 60 hours and still get this thing done? So when I was messaging the chat and saying like, do we actually think I can do this without sleep, it was sort of on the brink of like me doubting it and thinking like, ooh, this is getting a lot harder. So the plan was to go without sleep. I'm really pleased with how the experiment went. Like, it's pretty cool to have done a 58 and 47-hour race with no sleep. I think I was up for, all said and done, like 65 hours. And I think what I learned is that I wouldn't try to do that again, but I think for me, the sweet spot is like definitely pushing sleep out further. Like maybe I don't sleep until mile 170, 180, 190. Because then I would be able to fall asleep because I've entered sort of a critical limit. So it was very interesting. I wouldn't recommend staying awake for that long. I entered some new places for myself, and sort of it's just very strange for anyone who's been awake that long. You understand it's an interesting place to exist.
So I went into it with a completely opposite approach, because this is only my second 200, but I've crewed Kevin at most of his. So I've been around these events quite a bit. And I do feel pretty strongly that unless you're finishing it like in under, as Kevin said, like under 65 hours or whatever, sleep is really important. And I have seen many people like lose more time not sleeping than they do just stopping and sleeping and resetting and then moving faster. So I was planning to sleep night 1 and night 2, and then was going to kind of see how things went from there. And that's what I did. Night 1, I did 1 hour at Green Church, which was the last crewed aid station before that, like 30-mile section. And then I also did an hour and a half at Levining. And then I ended up having to take a 10-minute like chair nap at Minaret Vista just in to get myself up and over that last climb. I can fall asleep like instantly, which is funny because in real life I have trouble sleeping, but I'm a really good napper in the afternoon. And in these events, it's like I lay down and I'm just out. So that worked for me. I knew that I was going to be able to fall asleep if I laid down. So that worked really well. And I never had any point during the race where I felt like I was stumbling around or like kind of getting out of my mind. That was like the perfect amount for me to just kind of feel level most of the race. And again, I just needed that like 10-minute reset at Minaret Vista. There's some pretty funny pictures of a chair. The aid station captain there, when I sat in the chair, was like, "Do you want me to put a blanket over your head?" And he did. He just like plopped the blanket over, and apparently I just like collapsed and was like laughing in my sleep. I don't know. There were weird things happening. I would swear left and right that I heard their whole conversation while I was sleeping, but apparently I was on another planet. Yeah, that was a really pivotal 10-minute nap going into the last push.
I think a cool story I have too about like just the power of sleep. So I spent a lot of the race leapfrogging with Roman Track. I think his last name's Track. Super strong runner. His goal was sub 60. Towards the end of the race, his goal evolved to be like top 5. And at the time, we were 5th and 6th male, and we were hiking together going up from Minaret Vista. So I'm right behind him. He's right ahead of me. He's moving really strong. I don't think I can beat him. I'm more concerned about my time goal, but I'm using him as like a carrot to pull me along. And out of nowhere, Roman says, "I'm going to take a quick nap." And we're 9 miles from the finish. Like we're the final climb, and I'm thinking like, oh, well, I wasn't really planning on beating Roman, but now it's in the bag, right? Like he's going to lay down and I'm going to go beat him quite easily. Roman beat me by an hour.
Wow.
He put an hour on me in 9 miles. So he lay down, he got a quick nap, and he was able to run a lot more than I was in the last 9 miles. So I think sleep is a really, really fascinating tool in these races, that one that I'm still learning how to use for sure.
Now, within that last 9 miles is still a big climb up and over Mammoth, correct? So Mammoth Mountain. So it's more than a flat 9 miles, but to your point, that sleep helped him enough to move an hour better than somebody else at the same point.
He had slept real quick? Sorry,
that's
do you
incredible.
know how much he had slept at that point, or how much he slept total?
He told me he had taken like 5 or 6 dirt naps, and I think they were like 10 to 15 minutes each. So he was probably on like 75 to 90 minutes of sleep up to that point.
Okay, Jimmy Elam also took like 6 10-minute dirt naps. So, and then Rachel didn't sleep at all. So, different methods, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to mention, I mean, we shouted out Melanie's 5th place finish. Kevin, you had a 7th place finish, and you mentioned Roman did get into that top 5 there. You and Jeff Patelier and Roman were all within an hour of each other, about in that range right there. But one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about, I noticed 92 finishers, 32 DNF, so like a 75% finisher rate for a first year 200. Like, what does that say to you about kind of like first year event? And like, do you guys have any like thoughts on how this first year of Mammoth went relative to just the organization and just like how smooth things went?
I mean, overall, like it was a great event. I mean, there was a lot of support out there on the course. I think this was my first time doing an inaugural event, but I know of like, Cocodona, I know the stories of that, and I know some of the other ones. I felt well supported. I do think that there were some growing pains that I'm confident that will be worked out. There was maybe not enough food selection out there. Some of the aid stations were really stellar, but we all pretty much sustained our race off of mashed potatoes, which is, at a certain point, gets to be a little much on the mashed potato front. So I think, there's some growing pains, but I think you can see that the foundation is there for like a really top-notch event. Like Hillary and Tim just like obviously care so much about making this like a top tier event. And I think we all saw that and really felt that. And I think, there's really good feedback coming out of it. I think the food is probably the biggest thing, and maybe a little bit more infrastructure at the aid stations. Some of those aid stations were quite cold in the night. So, little things like that are easy to correct going forward. And I don't think necessarily impacted my race. I don't know about others, but would like to see some more options going forward.
That's really good feedback.
Yeah, I'll echo all those sentiments. More food, more chairs, more heaters. But if I didn't know it was an inaugural year, I may not have realized it. It was pretty dialed.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. Okay, kind of transitioning a little bit into like commentary stuff. First of all, I mean, congratulations to both of you. Kevin, that's your PR at 200 plus. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, PR. And I think the average pace was 16:15 for me, which if you had told me I had to hit a 16:15 average beforehand, I would have been quite intimidated. So I was really happy with the time.
Well, and I heard you kind of were going in with a little bit of a nickel or Achilles, like kind of some tendinopathy, right? So I don't know, but did that bug you at all, or were you just really happy with how?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it funny? Like our bodies are so weird. I've been struggling with the Achilles tendinopathy since March, and it was a total non-issue. Like it was totally fine for the race. But up until the taper run the day before, I was like, oh boy,
crazy! It's crazy. Just needed to go run another 200 and fix it. That's wild. Okay, so yeah, kind of shifting a little bit into some of the media coverage, live stream, the commentary stuff. Obviously, Kevin, I feel like you should be counted as part of the commentary crew because you're in there so much, which is awesome. Really appreciate you helping fill, time and space and making it entertaining. And everyone's always like, what the heck? This guy's running the race and he's in the chat. And yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, do you have any feedback or thoughts on, and I know, Melanie, we can talk a little bit about you intentionally do not engage at all in the live stream, but yeah, any reflections on how that looked or how it felt from your perspective at Mammoth? We obviously had a lower viewership than something like a Cocodona, but it still wasn't low. It was pretty active. And I think we got up to like 2,000 or 3,000 viewers at certain peak times. But then now looking back, I just noticed already, this was 4 days ago, one of the streams has 25,000 views on it. And that is very similar to like the Broken Arrow Ascent that was posted 4 months ago. So I think those numbers are going to keep going up. So kind of just an interesting point. There was definitely some people following it.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to see the numbers in there, and they were consistent too. Like even the overnight off peak times, like were hundreds of people in there, which is pretty cool. I think I set a PR for myself of time in chat, time listening to the stream during the race. At times, it felt like you guys were pacing me, which was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, like I hope people realize like how good of a job you, Shelby, and Alyssa did. Like it is not easy to fill the time. Like you're talking constantly, and like these races are kind of boring. There's not a lot going on, like, or I shouldn't say boring, but they're happening like slowly, right? Like things are unfolding slowly. So like you guys are filling like hours and hours and hours on end nonstop. There's no like breaks, no silent time. So like that's really hard to do. And from what I saw, people realize like how good of a job your team did. So that was really cool. Big fans of all you three. I think you guys did great. It was really fun to be in there. It's super fun when someone realizes that I'm running the race. Like when a viewer like is like, wait, this guy's in the race. That makes me feel good. That helps me. Like that's why I'm in there, is I'm getting energy from that experience. And I only fell twice. So it was a really cool year for the live stream. And I kind of love that this has become like a weird quirk of mine.
I love it.
We need to figure out like a heads up display for you or some way for you to like follow this with hands free. Like
I'm all ears.
I think there's something here.
We need to do it. And to the point where you're like gamifying it and throwing out there, like, I will give away a hat or a distance to empty, whatever, if you can guess the song. Did anybody guess the song?
No one guessed the song. I eventually gave the
answer.
What
were you listening to?
It was Head Over Feet by Alanis Morissette.
Oh, that's a good song. That's a good song. Dang it. That was tough. We needed a few clues because everyone is going the T Swift route, and then like
I
it
know.
just
I should have been like, Canadian singer or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, that would have been good. That would have been good. There was a very, very meta moment that I don't know if you've seen yet or not, but we have the camera on you and you're in the live stream. So we can see you texting us on your phone while you're running. And it was, it was hilarious. We're like, wait, that is Kevin. That's Kevin. He definitely just got his phone out. And like, so it was awesome and very, very entertaining. And glad that it gives you also some juice and energy. I could see like tuning in. I mean, because you're a fan of the sport too, and you want to know what's going on, and so it's like you have an opportunity to also be paying attention to what's going on in the race and kind of be entertained by what you're doing. I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's great, and I think everybody appreciates it. So keep doing it.
All right, I will. Thank you.
I think that was probably the hardest part for me is because usually, I crew Kevin at Cocodona and he's known for doing the same thing there as well. And usually when I'm crewing him, I'm also like in the live stream, like watching all the stories unfold in the commentary. And it is really exciting. And as crew, like that's really fun for me to do. So this race, like I didn't get any of that experience and I was only getting updates by like word of mouth. But I was confident that he was off enjoying himself with the live stream, and maybe I'll have to go back and check some of it out after the fact. Because yeah, as a fan of the sport myself, it was kind of sad to miss out on some of that. But I just don't. I prefer to like hyper focus on what I'm doing during these events and just like put one foot in front of the other, get to the next aid station. And I don't really like to think about the outside world because then that makes me start like missing creature comforts. So I like contrasting to Kevin, I like to stay very much present in the moment of what I am doing, even if that's feeling miserable, because that's just how like that's just what I'm doing and that's what I need to be doing. And I can only focus on one thing at a time.
One question I always get is like, how do I keep my phone charged for the whole race? Like, and the answer is pretty simple. I'm just carrying like more batteries than other people are, just weighing down my pack with batteries. But I thought it was funny that this race, my phone did die for the first time ever during a race, like phone off, totally died. And I immediately got lost. Like, I'm using Gaia to like navigate. I have it on my watch, but I'm not running it. And it was just funny that like my phone had been dead for 5 minutes and I'm like, where the heck am I? And I'm like in a parking lot. I missed a turn heading into Lee Vining. And I'm just standing around walking in circles. And like, it was just, the timing of it was just funny. And I felt very helpless.
Wow. So
That's funny that you mentioned that. The live stream actually caught a runner second guessing her route, and she was on the route, but it was like you saw her stop. She pulled out her phone. She's checking it, and it's like, no, it just keep going straight. Like that's the way. And then she turns around, goes back.
well, that was part, I think
Corinne, maybe you can tell part of that story.
It was a parlay, yeah.
It was.
I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of entertaining, but it's like that does happen. You're like, wait, I didn't see a flag for a minute. Where is it? Where am I? Go back. And everybody's like, no, you're good. We're trying to like yell through the, through the cameras at the person. But yeah, so you only had it on Gaia on your phone and not on your watch.
I had it on both, but I didn't have it running on the watch. So I did end up loading it on the watch. But like at that point, like I was like, I haven't been using the watch. So I'm like zooming in and struggling with like relearning how to use it and everything. And eventually I did get back on course using the watch. I would have been more difficult. I'm glad I had it. So I did use it. A lesson to always have redundancy and backups. But I probably should have because I like live streams like right up till the phone turned off. I knew it was dying. It wasn't a surprise. And I probably should have, at 5%, I should have been like, let's wait till you get to Lee Vining here.
Yeah. Melanie, did you have any navigation issues or was...
I got off course. I got off course a couple of times. I did think that there were some areas of course marking that could have been a little bit better. So just a few like confusing junctures, and then there were a few like actual like junctions that weren't marked. And I always second guessed those where I was like, so I'd have to stop and take out. I had it on my watch, but it's not in as much detail. So then you have to stop and take out Gaia and take the time to confirm that yes, this is the right way. So I think that was pretty consistent feedback from a lot of the racers. I know Rachel got lost on day one. So I'm sure they'll remedy that going forward as well. The course markings that they did use, the reflectors were not very reflective. So at night, it was definitely challenging. It wasn't like easy to just like use your headlamp to scan and navigate. So that was a little bit more, you had to be a little more vigilant. So yeah, I got off a couple times. I did have it running on my watch. So my watch did yell at me when I would get off, but so I didn't get off too far, but had to go back and backtrack, which when you're in a 200, like every step that you take off, you're just like, oh gosh,
Totally.
okay. I don't want to do this, but all right. So yeah.
And overall, are you pretty happy with your race and your results? Like how do you feel now? And kudos to both of you for coming on like 4 days. I think I'd still be in bed. I don't know. Both seem to be functioning very well for having just completed this thing.
Thank you. We did just kind of roll out of bed to come do this, but that's all right. No, I was really happy with my race. I ran Tahoe 200 last year as my first 200, and I had a very rough race at Tahoe. So going into this, I really wasn't sure that like I was sold on like 200-mile races. I wasn't sure like that was something I wanted to do. I don't know why I signed up for this one, if I'm being honest. But my goal with this race was to have a race that I felt really proud of from start to finish, that like it wasn't just a death march all the way to the end, which is what Tahoe was for me. And then I actually had a difficult race earlier this summer that rattled my confidence a little bit. So I was really proud of the race that I put together because I felt good like almost the whole way. I was like actually able to like run at the end, which was nice and a refreshing change for me. So I think I said to my pacer at one point, like I was like, I had no idea that you could actually feel like this well during a race. Because typically I've felt kind of like a zombie. Like I don't want it to sound like I didn't have aches and pains. I had terrible feet problems, but I'm felt well and I fueled properly and I saw kind of the puzzle coming together of this distance. So I'm really, really happy with that outcome. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that means for the future, but we'll see.
That's awesome. That's great. We could go a number of different routes. A couple of the things you just said, it seemed like feet were destroyed at this race. And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on why that was, maybe uniquely from other courses. Like I know there was the California kitty litter and the sand sections. Do you think that played into it? Because there wasn't a lot of water, right? There's one water crossing, maybe?
Yeah, again, another area where Kevin and I had completely opposite experiences of this course. My feet were terrible. I do think it was the sand and the kitty litter. The balls of my feet just got torn up. And I think that was just from the grit being in my shoes. Probably should have done more frequent shoe changes when I realized that was happening, but it got to a point where it was too little too late. I had a medic at Lee Vining tape my feet up, and she spent like honestly probably like a half hour just staring at them, being like, I don't really know what to do with your feet. She said that to me. And we were like, can you just tape them and like, we'll just pretend nothing's happening? And she was like, yes. So she spent a long time taping my feet. And she literally said to me, good luck when I left. So I was like, oh God.
She did
Here we
say
go.
what's been said to me at a race before, which was, I don't think you should keep going because of what your foot is like, which was the absolute worst thing. If there are any
Yeah.
volunteers out there, please do not tell somebody. I don't think you
No.
should keep going. It's the little seed you need to be like, no, I don't think I should either.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I'm glad they didn't say that, but not knowing
Yeah.
what to
No.
do, it sounds like they were pretty beat up.
Yeah, she was truly baffled. Because when she first looked at him, like my toes and stuff were fine, but it was just the bottom of my feet. So at first she was like, "Oh, your feet are fine," and then she was like just staring, and I was like, "Are you gonna do something?" And she's like, "I don't really know what to do." So that was fun and really reassuring. My crew and everybody else, I had a couple other people who had run 200s before, and they were like, "Don't worry, eventually they're gonna go numb and you won't feel it anymore," which was true, but took a really long time to get to that point. So yeah,
Not
no,
necessarily
not so much.
confidence inspiring.
But I got through. I think a lot of other people out there had a similar experience. I do think it was like that sand. I think if I did it again, I don't know. I could do it again, and maybe the same thing would never happen. It could have just been a freak thing, but I survived, and we're a couple days out of it, and every day it's getting a little bit better. So, yeah, well, it is what it is, and it's something that pretty much everybody deals with, except for Kevin.
So Kevin, you just don't get sand in
Just
your feet?
perfect.
What, you just like tight gaiters?
No,
What do you
no,
do?
it's I did hear like to Melanie's point, like everyone was having foot issues out there. I was really lucky. I tied my shoes and put my gaiters on, and I didn't touch them, look at them, take them off until I got back to the hotel room after the finish line, which is a PR for me in that sense too. Like I've always done at least one sock change. I usually do multiple pairs of shoes. Like this was by far a shoe foot situation record for me. Zero blisters, zero issue. I mean, my feet hurt from like, running 214 miles, but really, really no issues. It was great. I did the water crossing and didn't touch them after that. And yeah, when I took them off, I was very pleasantly surprised to see just nice feet.
This was actually my first time having foot issues. So I'd
I
never had
listened.
Leukotape put on my feet before. And oh my gosh, the saga of getting that off of my feet
Yeah.
afterward
Yeah.
was insane. Like I couldn't even get my socks off my feet. I had to take a shower just to get the socks off of my feet. So anyway, that was a fun experience for me.
Crazy. So
Oh yeah, I have not used tape either, but I see other people using it, and I'm sure there's some protective qualities there if you do it pre. But yeah, man, that's a whole different thing. I was going to say I did listen to
that was
Kevin
great.
your preview
We
podcast
shout
with
that out a
Hillary,
bunch in the
and
live
I was
stream for people. Like, if
curious.
you want
It
to deep
was
dive on this course, please go listen because it was excellent. And like, I listened to it in my prep for commentating. So thank you for doing it.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Thanks.
Well, and I was curious if you found any sections that surprised you after like having kind of that beta and hearing it firsthand from Hillary. And the one thing that you can tell from listening to Hillary is that she's been on, if not all of the course, most of the course. She
Yeah,
knew everything
I
basically
mean,
by memory.
surprises, like I definitely didn't think the first climb was too bad. I was pleasantly surprised by like how runnable, but you're fresh, right? So everything perspective is going to be different. Um, we were emailed about a section out of June Lake that was really steep, which it was steep, but it was like fire road and pretty easy to like grind through. One section that I didn't remember her talking about that was like the bane of my existence was the descent down into June Lake. It was rocky and steep, and it was in the dark for me, and that I was moved very, very slowly on that. And I remember thinking like this wasn't featured at all and should be like the hardest section on the course. Um, and then the final summit of Mammoth Mountain just felt mean. Like what we're already above 200. Why don't we just scoot back down to? It's like when you get to Fort Tuttle at Cocodona, and you're like, Flagstaff's right there, guys. Hey, we know that signing up, but your mid race brain tells you that that's like not cool. But then your post race brain is like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, one of the comparisons that I saw between the Cocodona just this last year is that they had everyone go down kind of that steeper, rocky section this year, and I noticed that at Mammoth it was going down the Dragon's Back, but everybody went through during the day because it's the first climb. So I did notice, obviously, you weren't going down the Dragon's Back at the end of the
Definitely.
race, which was
It
probably
is
a
somewhat
good
technical
choice.
coming off of Mammoth Mountain, or at least I heard, Rachel say that she thought it was still pretty challenging from a footing standpoint in the upper part.
Yeah, it definitely is. I took a pretty good spill right around mile 11 or 12. Coming down there, I broke a pole on that section, which is early in the race to break a pole. So it's probably the most technical part of the course. And you're fresh, so the perspective is shifted. But I would say there's nothing out there more technical than that.
Oh man, okay. So I guess just a couple of points around the commentating. I want to give a big shout out to Mountain Outpost because I think like them teaming up with Tim and Hillary to do this is definitely a big endeavor. And I mean, they were out there for 5 days after doing Mammoth Trail Fest. So many of their staff were there for like 2+ weeks, kind of making this happen. And I think that just should be applauded. It was a little different in that we did not have field commentary. So we had a lot of field cameras and videos, but we didn't have people in the field to call in and to talk to and to get some of that on the ground coverage. I do think that, it was helpful and it was beneficial that we had we did turn the camera a couple times on like the aid station captains and had them speak and stuff like that, which was great. And I got out to June Lake and did just a little bit from out there when we had all three of us. And just seeing the race in action, like it was really, really neat to be part of it. So I feel like I know it a lot better. I also now know that you only say Eastern Sierra and not Sierras. And I know that you say Mono Lake and not Mono Lake. Been corrected many times on some of these. So like I feel like I've got the terminology correct now going forward. So apologies to anyone I offended with mispronouncing things. I hate it when people do that for E-Ray or my, places that I know well. So sorry about that. We'll try to fix it in the future. Also, Max Jolliffe, not Joleaf, not, so I think I messed that up a few times early on too, but we're going to do things to improve that. Everybody has to call in and pronunciate your name, and we're going to record it and keep it in a library so that we all know how to actually. I don't know that for sure. That's just my suggestion on how we remedy some of this stuff. But I think it was successful, and it was cool to work with both Alyssa and Shelby. They're both pretty passionate about the sport, and they know a lot about it, and that's helpful. So it was awesome working with them and all the staples, Zach and Jordan and Trevor and all the Mountain Outpost folks that are kind of have become staples. They're doing a great job. We got so many comments about just the drone footage, and it's like that was maybe the biggest win of this whole thing, is that people got to see what this area looks like and were very shocked and surprised and I guess enamored with how beautiful it was, which I was equally struck by the landscape, which I think was the whole point of creating the route. So did you guys have a chance to really soak in just the environment and some of the vistas? And what was that like for you? I don't know if you've run any amount of time out there before, but
so we've spent some time out there. I know Kevin more so than myself. We both did the John Muir Trail together a number of years ago. Kevin's actually done the John Muir Trail a couple of times. And we definitely love the Sierra and the area. So it was gorgeous. I mean, I think it was such an interesting combination, this course, of being so runnable, but also just being surrounded by just like striking beauty the whole time. I think I said to one of my pacers too, I was like, usually in these races, you see these big mountains and you think, oh, I have to go run over that. But this race wasn't that. This race was a different kind of entire event. And you basically just got to kind of circumnavigate within that caldera and enjoy the views that were around you. And I thought that was really nice. So you could see these huge mountains and just think, wow, that is so beautiful, and appreciate it for what it was. I think only downside of the course is that you really only get to see 50% of it. I was doing the section coming out of Green Church as the sun was rising, and I know that was one of Kevin's least favorite sections, and a lot of people complained about that section because it was a forest road with like repetitive, really steep climbs, like very short but very, very steep climbs. And I got to do that during the sunrise. So we did a couple of those and I was miserable, but then I turned around and I saw the glass mountains behind us and I was like, whoa, this is really cool where I am right now. So the course was beautiful. My only complaint is I only got to see half of it. Like I did Obsidian Dome in the dark, and I imagine that was really cool. But I didn't really get to see it. It was just very rocky. So
Yeah.
You just need to start like a full half day late, and then
Good
you can
idea.
do the whole thing again and see the opposite
that. It was
opposite time frame.
Sierra is just the mountains are so beautiful, and that area has always been really special to me. I feel like I've explored a lot of the Sierra, but have not been up to that eastern side that high up. Like I've done stuff out of Bishop and Lone Pine and all over the Western Sierra with the John Muir Trail and offshoots of that. But this was my first time on any of those trails. It was my first time doing like a 200 where I hadn't been on any of the trails yet, which was really cool. Every step was a total surprise, which was great.
The one thing I did want to just shout out also, and you mentioned both of your co-host names, but I believe this might have been the first all ladies commentary team between you and Shelby and Alyssa. and you each had a good chemistry with each other and spent some time individually with, it was Corinne and Shelby to start, and then Alyssa came in and you took a break, Corinne, and some of those things. So I thought that was really cool. And honestly, the way you set it up to start, because really you didn't get a second checkpoint after the start until like maybe mile 9 at the top of the mountain. And so there was obviously a lot of time to fill, but yeah, I had some interviews in there. There was some other commentary that was entertaining. And, basically I was glued to it for the first like 2 to 4 hours. And then I was jumping in and out. But I thought it was set up to start really well. Because honestly, if you didn't have anybody to follow, it could have been a lot of dead air right away to start.
All of those pre-race interviews, and they were somewhat long form. I think we also tried to kind of interact with the chat in terms of, we're all runners ourselves. And so we came up with like some podcast-esque topics to try to like throw out when there was a lot of time, so here's a scenario. And I'd like, maybe this is one of our last points here, is maybe get your feedback on pacers during this, because one unique thing about this race, I think Hard Rock does the same thing, but not all races do, is that you can't drop your pacer. They have to stay with you. And so we had that as a discussion point in the chat. Would that change who you picked as your pacer? Would you decide to run sections without a pacer, because that could be a risk? Or, how does that affect your strategy from a racing standpoint? So we try to kind of have a few different topics that like we could maybe just, either educate on or discuss in the chat as there was time to kill. And a lot of it is around like strategies on XYZ, or what do you think about prize money in 200s, or so that I think that was one of the goals, is all three of us have done and are on podcasts somewhat frequently. And so it was like, let's make discussion topics and kind of bring everybody in and chat about that. That was one strategy we had. So yeah, what were your thoughts? How many pacers did you have, and what did you think? What do you think of that rule at Mammoth?
Yeah, so I mean, first I saw you guys asking those questions. I thought that was awesome. Like the chat was super engaged, and I think you guys did a good job of also like grounding each stream of like, every once in a while checking in, like telling people what they were listening to, because people stumble upon those things and they're like, what the heck is going on here? So I thought those things were awesome. From a pacer perspective, when I landed in Mammoth on Wednesday, I had a pacer set up for night 1 and night 2. And then I ended up having pacers for almost the whole race, except for one 15-mile stretch. So picked up some pacers when I was out there. I'm usually pretty confident that, like, even though I'm somewhat near the front end of the races, like, you're moving so slowly that I'm generally confident with people keeping up with me. And I think I would value the company and the experience over the speed. Like if something happened and I had to slow down, it'd make for a fun story. Like, it's okay. This is just running. So I'm not putting too much weight or pressure on those pacers. I mean, I'd give them shit for like the rest of their days, but I think it's fun.
Yeah. So going into it, I had fewer pacers lined up. I knew we had a friend who was going to pace Kevin as well on night 1. He was going to pace me night 2. And then I knew that Brittany from Chaos Crewing was planning to pace me for about 30 miles, but like we hadn't really determined where. And then, as Kevin had mentioned, I think earlier, we ran into the Chisholms at the expo, and Brody was going to jump in and just pace Kevin for a leg. And we were kind of like setting that up. And I was like, does Jenny want to pace at all? Like, I've got open legs. Like, I'd take a pacer. And I mean, oh my gosh, Jenny Chisholm is now my best friend.
Turns out Jenny wanted to pace. Yes.
Answer yes. Jenny wanted to pace. She originally, the plan was just for her to do like one leg with me, and I was like so grateful just for that. I was mentally prepared to do this race without pacers. Jenny ended up pacing me for over 80 miles. So I owe so much to Jenny Chisholm. She was an excellent pacer. She was chatty, but like didn't expect me to chat back. She checked in with me a lot. She pushed me. She was just amazing, and I am just so grateful to her. And I'm just blown away by like someone, just a random stranger, being like, "Yes, 80 miles. I will take you through that." So Every time I thought she was done, I would show up at another leg and she'd be all geared up. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then it got to a point where I think she and I were in that together because I'm pretty sure Brody wanted to pace me for a leg for the last leg. And Jenny was like, no, she was like, I think we have a pretty good thing going. I'm just going to see you through. So super grateful to her, super grateful to Bryant who got me through night 2 in the water crossing. And then I guess on the lines of not dropping pacers, Brittany from Chaos Crewing, she was going to pace me about 30 miles total, and she really wanted to do the last leg. And I was like, all for it. But she had never been to that altitude before. She is a Midwestern flatlander, and she was a little nervous about it. She definitely had some issues with the altitude at the shakeout run. I'll let her tell that story if she wants to, but so yeah, it was kind of an unknown, but I was like, she really, really is excited about getting up to that altitude and getting on the top of Mammoth Mountain. And like her excitement about that was exciting for me. And I was like, I don't even care. We'll get through that together. If she gets altitude sickness, like, sometimes it's a good distraction for you to have to take care of your pacer, snap you out of your misery. So she did great and I loved it, and actually super grateful that she was there with me. We had kind of a scary situation on the summit where we got stuck in the fog and had to wait it out until sunrise. I was so glad she was there with me because it was a little scary. Yeah, I think, I would not have left her behind if it had come to it, and I was appreciative that she was there no matter what.
Yeah, we had such a all-star team. I mean, we had Cole Crosby and his wife Ashley, also chaos crewing. Like Cole's going after the 24-hour Worlds race in France here in a couple months. Jerry and Molly, we mentioned, were supposed to crew one of our other friends. They jumped on our team. Jerry paced. They were everywhere. Jerry's trying to BQ at Twin Cities this upcoming weekend, probably before this episode comes out. Bryant, who's just amazing, knows the area, paced both me and Mel. We talked about the Chisholms, Brittany. My friend David came out from SLO and just like showed up in the middle of the night. He was like, yeah, send me a pin. I sent him a pin. We didn't like talk about it. He just showed up and paced 42 miles. It was such an all-star team. We couldn't have done it without them, and we're very, very grateful.
So cool. So cool. Well, thank you both for joining us. This is awesome. Great to just talk a little more about the Mammoth 200. Huge congrats to both of you on really amazing races and results and times. We'll let you go and get some rest, but appreciate you joining us. And I don't know, I think people should probably look into the Mammoth. Check it out.
I agree. Corinne, I have one closing question for you.
Okay. All right.
So this is, I mean, you've been asked it a lot. I know you've been asked a lot because I saw it consistently in the chat while I was in there. You just crushed URA 50 course record, and everyone is like, Corinne, when are you running a 200? I'm less concerned about the answer because I've seen you answer it, but how does it feel to be asked that constantly?
I guess it's kind of flattering. It's an honor that people like believe more in me to do it than I do. But no, URA 50 gave me confidence that maybe I can do hard rock at some point and not just suffer through it. But I don't know. We'll see. TBD. I might be on a wait list somewhere. If somebody could search far enough, but no decisions have been made yet.
Did you sign up for Hard Rock?
I don't have a qualifier.
Oh, okay.
If I had a qualifier, I would absolutely have signed up. So the moment I get that qualifier, I will. I was going to do Cascade Crest this year and just was too busy with everything else to feel like I could mentally tackle that one. So maybe next year. It's still,
okay.
Yeah.
Check out.
We need the ladies to sign up. So
I know we do. And I've encouraged so many ladies too. And I'm like, I don't care if you want to run it, just you need to enter the lottery.
Exactly.
We're going to boost the numbers.
Yeah.
Check out Wyoming Range. Okay. That's what I qualified there this year back in August. It's a really, really wild race. I think you'd like it.
Okay. Awesome. I will definitely look into it. Thank you guys. Rusty, anything else from you?
No, that's it. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you joining and taking the time.